Didik TV KPM.
Baik pelajar semua, kita kembali dalam Sukses STPM 2021. Masih lagi bersama dengan Mira dan juga cikgu kita yang sangat hebat hari ini, Cikgu Zai, di mana kita akan fokuskan mata pelajaran Matematik M ataupun Matematik Management Kertas 3. Baiklah cikgu, saya nak tanya kepada cikgu, apa kesalahan yang murid selalu lakukan, terutama sekali dalam Matematik Kertas 3 ni cikgu?
Okay, most mistakes made by students are they do not follow the instructions and requirements in the question. So banyak tak ikut arahan. So kita tahu kan Mira, bila tak ikut arahan what happen? Kita kena denda kan. That's what happen lah dalam periksa. Mereka kena denda.
Yap. Okey, dan untuk segmen ini cikgu akan fokuskan bagi interest, annuity and depreciation. Betul cikgu
Yes.
Silakan cikgu.
Okay, let's start. Okay, so the next topic is interest, annuity and depreciation. Like I mentioned, okay, when you read the question, please interpret the information, extract all the information and translate it into mathematical sentence. Okay, we have here a car. The original book value is 150,000 and the book value after 8 years is 50,000. Okay, all right. And then the instruction, okay, here mostly students are unable to identify because it's given implicitly, okay, the flat rate depreciation method and use the reducing balance depreciation method. So students, you must use what is asked in the question, okay. So what must you do? What is the task here? The task is to find the difference in the book value after 4 years. And the requirement, the answer must be given correct to the nearest 100 ringgit. Okay, so let's look at the solution. Okay, like I said, translate all the information into mathematical sentence. Okay, for flat rate depreciation, the annual depreciation is constant every year. So we must find the annual depreciation. It's very simple. Okay, just using 150,000 minus 50,000 over 8. So the annual depreciation is roughly RM 12,500. So after 4 years, this is the book value. Okay, notice that when you state the answer, do not forget the RM. You must write the RM because this is ringgit. This is not just numbers, okay? Right, since flat rate is also known as the linear slope depreciation, we can use the maths formula, finding the slope. But here, I'm using a different method whereby I define my X as the book value of the car after 4 years, okay? So using the gradient method, okay, so I'm leaving my answer X in 100,000. Tadi say I must state my RM. Here, why RM is not stated? Because RM X was defined earlier in the solution. So if you define your variable X, you do not have to state RM. RM is very important in paper 3. Okay, next. For reducing balance depreciation method, you have to find the rate of the reducing balance rate of depreciation. So we have two formulas here. Either use that formula given in the textbook or you can use the book value for reduced balance depreciation. Okay, this is very important. In working, do not run off the value. Run off to at least 4 significant figures or else you will lose mark because of error in accuracy. Okay, tak tepat. So, jawapan kurang tepat. And then for after 4 years, this is the formula that we're going to use. So, X, again, kalau tak nak buat RM pun tak apa because RM is already defined earlier, but to be safe, you write down your RM. Okay, this is ringgit and cent. So, make sure you run off to 2 decimal places. Ada pelajar buat 0.3. 0.3, what does it mean? Nothing. Okay, so 29 cents. So find the difference. Okay, now, why if you leave your answer like this, 0 marks? Because the question states, run off to the nearest 100 ringgit. So this is what happened in the exam. Ramai tak follow the instruction, as what I mentioned earlier, okay? Okay, now, other than depreciation, for this topic, we have interest. Okay, we have simple interest and compound interest. The formula here is not given in the question paper. So students must know when to use the two type of interest. Then we have the annuity. Okay, future value annuity, the formula is given in the paper. So future value normally we apply when you invest, when we do saving ya, bila kita buat kata orang simpanan. So the interest is gain, kita untung because interest is gain. So this is a formula, and then we must know the monthly payment into the sinking funds for future obligation. Next, we have the present value. Normally, present value ni is synonym with loan borrowed. So when the word there, taking money, loan borrowed, you have to use this formula. Hence, when kita ambil loan, what happen? Interest is charged. So this is the formula. So we must also know the monthly payments to amortize our loan. Okay, so this is on annuity. Okay, students must also know the effective rate. So this is given in the question. It's always calculated once a year. But what is the purpose? To compare different investment. Okay, for example, kalau kita nak ambil loan here, kita nak invest in a bank. So here the bank give us two different banks give two different interest rate. Okay, the first one 9% compounded monthly, the other one 9.5% compounded every 4 months. So do not just say, oh A, I'll choose A. Why? You must show the working. So this is the working using effective rates. Okay, so notice that although number one tu nampak compounded monthly tu banyak, but actually the second one gives a better return. And take note, when interest rate, final answer must be in percentage form, bukan decimal. Sebab the word here is rate. Okay, so itu yang saya kata students will lose mark because tak follow instruction. Okay, next topic. This is also on financial, cost, revenue and profit. Okay, ini panjang. So when you read the question, always look closely here. The demand supply equations are given as Q in terms of P. Normally P in terms of Q. So ramai this year that year trick question. So again, what is asked? Cash on the same axis. Determine equilibrium price, quantity, calculate. So these are the task word yang kita kena follow. So look at the solution. Okay, identify the graph. So when you sketch, okay, so linear function graph means straight line graph. Root function graph means the root curve. Okay, so notice that to get the full mark, students, you must label everything. Okay, axis label correctly, the graph label correctly, the points are shown clearly on the axis. Kena ya. Without this, you lose again 1 mark. Ya. Sebab D1 means everything must be correct. Okay. And then what happened at equilibrium point? We know that quantity demanded is the same as quantity supplied. So we equate the two equations. Solving. Okay, one thing nice about STPM, you don't have to show the factorization. SPM kena, SPM tak perlu. You can use the calculator to find P and Q. Right. Mira, do you think the students will get full answer here? Full mark, I mean.
I don't think so. Saya tak rasa.
Sebab dia kena conclude the answer. So how do you conclude? You have to write equilibrium price RM 641.67 cent again ya, unit RM. Equilibrium quantity because they kata in 100,000, in 1,000, so you have to times 1,000. So must be in integer form. Okay. Okay, to find the consumer surplus, producer surplus, you can use the graph that you have sketched in A. There's one thing nice about STPM, they guide you. Okay, the graph sketched can be used to identify where is the area of CS, consumer surplus, PS, producer surplus. So from the graph, CS is always the area that is above the equilibrium price. PS is always the area below the equilibrium price. Okay. Okay. So how to get CS? Look at the area. If you remember Form 5, let integration. You can use integration of the demand equation, or you can find the area half times base times height. Okay. So again, unit RM must be stated. Okay. Now, although the question does not ask you to interpret, but students must also know how to interpret or must know what does this value mean. Ramai pelajar tak tahu apa maksud CS tu. So we can say the saving gain by the consumers paying the equilibrium price of RM64167 is RM1566.68 sen. Okay, tak perlu ikut word by word as long as the word here gain ada by consumer is tu. Maknanya keuntungan pada consumer bila dia beli pada harga lebih daripada equilibrium price. Similarly, producer surplus, okay, notice that is this area here under the supply curve below the equilibrium price. So we have to integrate. Tak ada pilihan, you have to integrate. Okay, the integral with respect to P. Okay, notice the limits here. 250 to 64167. Substitute the limit, hence you get the producer surplus. Again, student, you must know what does it mean. Okay, so interpret. This time, producer means the gain to the producer. Nampak tak? Dia bagi clue. The gain ataupun extra income ataupun added income ataupun the saving. Asalkan it has the same meaning. Okay, to the producer. Producer buat apa? Produce and supply, okay? At the equivalent price of the thing just now is RM516.60 sen. Okay, see the difference between consumer and producer. Okay, other students, sebab they are always used to P in terms of Q, so they convert it, tak salah, but you do extra work. It's not wrong, but you do extra work. So, although the graphing is simple, sketching of the graph is simple because we have quadratic equation graph, but make sure you convert it correctly, okay? And then, to find the equilibrium point, we will first get the quantity sebab we have P in terms of Q, and then followed by equilibrium price. Okay, consumer surplus is still the same, half time base time height, but producer surplus, remember, it's always below the equilibrium line. So notice that we have to find the area of the rectangle minus the area of the under the curve. So tedious. Okay, although look like 2 steps, actually I miss a lot of steps. Yes, I miss a lot of steps. So I advise kalau boleh jangan tukarlah the format of the question kecuali you have no choice. Okay, right. Okay, now these are the concepts that students must acquire. Okay. Just now the question asked us on this concept. So there are so many concepts that students must master. Okay. So the point for functions. Okay. Okay. Here are some tips when answering function. First tip, when you want to find functions from their marginal functions. For example, here we want to find the revenue function. So most students will forget to find the constant of integration. So you must show, although it's simple. Some say, "Alah, easy ma." My student always say that, "Mama, yeah, easy ma." No, although it's easy, you have to show. And then most students will forget to show the subject of the function. You have to show. So please take note of this. And then I will give you tips how to interpret the marginal values. Okay, kita banyak. We have the here, for example, the marginal revenue. So when you interpret. Okay, when you interpret, okay, make sure you have the production level, okay, approximate change in revenue by selling 1 more unit of the product is RM485, meaning that you must know what it means, yeah? Apa maksud 485 tu? Some will say the revenue obtained by selling the 2,501st unit of product is RM485, ataupun you can do in mathematical sentence, RM2501 minus, revenue producing 2,501 unit minus the revenue obtained in producing 2,500 units is RM485. Saya cuma nak highlight the beza when you produce 1 unit, okay? Okay, these are the tips on how to interpret. Semua sama. The sentences are all the same except the difference is total cost, approximate revenue, profit gain. And per unit product. Senang nak remember. Instead of saying by selling and producing, just say per unit product. But be careful, students. What happened is RMY is negative. This one is positive, yeah? So kalau negative, we say total cost reduced by RMY per unit product. revenue decrease by RMY per unit product, tapi profit loss by RMY sebab dia negatif. Okay, so this is how we interpret. And then when we find the minimum cost or maximum revenue profit, here for example, the question say minimize. Okay, most students will forget to show the testing for the minimum or maximum problem. So please show. How do you show? By finding the double derivative. Okay. Okay, that's all.
Okey. Cikgu, maksudnya cikgu bagi setiap cost, revenue ataupun profit tu, kalaulah jawapan tu dalam berbentuk negatif, murid kena tahu nak gunakan kata kunci bagaimana. Betul kan cikgu? Decrease dan juga loss. Begitu cikgu. Itu pun main peranan yang penting juga. Risau kalau anda kata terlupa ataupun murid ataupun pelajar kurang cakna tentang penggunaan ayat itu boleh menyebabkan kekurangan markah.
Yes, that's right.
Okey cikgu, kita berhenti berehat seketika. Pelajar di luar sana jangan ke mana-mana. Kita kembali selepas ini untuk lebih banyak lagi perkongsian daripada Cikgu Zai. Jangan ke mana-mana.
Didik TV KPM.